Welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast, the podcast that gives you immediate actions you can take to start seeing life-shifting results now. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast. This is Mark Cardone.
And Theron Feidt.
How often do we doubt ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think certainly with some people it's a lot, but I think everybody does to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not what you think. And that's the big part of what we're going to talk about is we're going to lead in with why and then obviously action
Yeah,
plans.
absolutely. And I think, self-doubt is one of those things that creeps up on all of us. And I think, as I was reading about this and thinking about it, I was really looking at it as like I've been alive for almost 50 years. Why do I still doubt
Yeah.
myself?
Yeah.
And a lot of it's because we get to new levels where we're not sure if we can do that
Right.
next thing. You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
so I think one of the cool things about self-doubt is when you look at it, you should see it as almost like a signal for growth, right?
Right. Yep.
Um, and really what we're talking about today is how to use our self-doubt, right? So not only how to, run from it and feel it, but really this is how to use it as a performance fuel, as a
Yeah.
thing to move you to the next level.
Yeah, I think especially as you're growing, if you're growing rapidly, sometimes you feel like an imposter.
Oh, for sure.
I think the other part of this, which we're going to not directly talk about, but your belief that you're worth it, like you deserve it, you don't deserve, all of those things. I think that can be wrapped up in that as well. I mean, this can go really deep. We're going to try to get the main part of it
Yeah.
of you're feeling you're growing, but you're not feeling like you're ready for the growth.
Yeah.
Not so much that you're not deserving of the growth, because that's way deeper. Like if you don't feel like you deserve something, there's a lot you need to work on,
Well,
from your
and
past.
And I really like it because you think about like what we've talked about this in the past is kind of our fight or flight response,
Yeah,
from coming back from like caveman days when
right,
there's danger ahead, so we tend to like want to go in the cave and hide and do the things, and that's really what we're looking at is our brain looks at these signals for growth as something that's scary, something that we're afraid of, and that fear is what causes us to
right,
kind of in our gut go, oh man, maybe this isn't the direction I should be going in, maybe
right.
this isn't maybe this new thing isn't something I should do. So I mean, I think if you don't feel like a fraud, you're at that level, you're not going to push through to grow. And I
Right.
think that's such an important part is like when you step on the floor to teach a class that maybe is a new class that you've never taught before, if you don't feel a little out of place, you're going to be relaxed, you're not going to push
Yeah,
yourself,
right.
and I think that's so important.
Well, being nervous or even a little anxious for something isn't a bad thing. Now, you obviously being anxious too much can
Yeah.
lead towards paralysis and other negative things. But a little bit gets you live,
Yeah.
gets you going, gets your heart pumping, like you're saying. And also, I think it demonstrates that it means something to you. It's important to you when there's a little
Yeah.
nerves, as long as your nerves aren't, excuse me, overpowering you. The other thing I was going to just mention, other than the not feeling like you deserved what you're getting, but also the self-sabotage, which I think we
Yeah.
did a I'll look I'm sure we did a podcast on specifically self-sabotage. And that is kind of one of the branches of this as well, I feel. Because I see that quite often. Unfortunately, people are gaining success and then all of a sudden they do something stupid.
Yeah.
Why did they do something stupid? Well, if you talk to them, oftentimes they don't even know why they did the stupid thing. But it really is that mechanism their brain protected themselves. So it's very similar to this. It's like I said, it's an offshoot. But I think that along with you just don't feel like you deserve it, and that again is deeper than what we're going to talk about today.
No, 100%. So, I mean, if you're listening to this and you feel like you are hitting your head on the ceiling and you're not making that progress to the next level, and you think self-doubt could be the culprit, or maybe you don't even know it is, or that
Yeah.
imposter syndrome is holding you back, this episode's for you. So let's pop into our 3 action steps. So getting into number one, action item one is reframing the fraud signal. And
Right.
this is really, instead of seeing fear as a warning, right, to stop, which is what so many of us do naturally. We have to see it as like that GPS signal that we've reached the
Hmm.
boundary of our comfort zone,
Right.
right? So like I always think of like when I people who are listening to this may have no idea what I'm talking about. But when you have an Oculus, like a VR headset, there's like a little setup so that if you exceed a certain spot, because obviously you can't see where you are
Yeah.
in the room, but there's
Right.
like a setup where if you go through a certain spot, it like buzzes or it rings and it
Hmm.
lets you know, like, hey, you're here, you're in danger. You might trip over the couch or the coffee table, or you might accidentally punch somebody in the room,
Yeah.
right? And I like to view it that way, as really as, that it's just a signal, that you may be on the boundary.
Right. But those videos are hilarious. I'm sure you've
They're
seen them.
so funny.
They obviously did not have that signal to tell them, "Hey, the TV's right in front of you when you're doing this boxing simulation," as they
Yeah.
punch the TV. So the other part of the reframing the fraud is your identity shift, and this comes from your self-talk, and specifically not just positive self-talk, but specific. It's just like when you set a goal that we've talked about before. I would like to lose 10 pounds. Okay. That's not a goal. That's just a weak statement that you just put up in the air. And so let's say you're saying, I'm trying to be a leader, or I would like to be a leader. So any of that is not good, or I want to be a leader. Okay. Well, that's great. But if you say I am a leader, and you tell yourself I am a leader, and oftentimes you do a little mantra. I remember early on when I did public speaking, and especially when I was doing it outside of the dojo, in front of people that really didn't know me. I remember doing this,
Yeah.
but obviously behind the scenes, not up in front of everybody. Um, but that positive self-talk and that mantra to get you going, and let me tell you, you might say, it doesn't work. It does work. It
Yeah.
absolutely does work.
It does, and it's so funny. Like I think about going to Tony Robbins seminar. When
Yeah.
he does a thing called "I am the voice," where it's
Yes.
literally an
Yep.
incantation where you're putting yourself, into this leadership mentality and setting goals with that "I am" and using that truth in advance. So many people are like, "Well, I just feel like I'm lying to myself," and blah blah blah. And what I like to tell people is like, you are until you're not.
Hmm.
And that's really how goal setting works is
Right.
if you say like, look, I'm fit, I'm excited,
Hmm.
your brain is going to start to say, oh, well, maybe that's what I need to be, but that
Right.
discomfort, right, is the boundary.
Yep.
And I think we really need to embrace that boundary and
Right.
understand that like it's just something that high achievers feel consistently, and work through it.
Right. Yep. Yep. So that's step one. Now, action step number two is remembering your the reasons why you're there. So, I mean, you could say you're deploying your evidence log, the evidence of why you belong where you belong, or you're doing what you're doing. And that I think writing it down would help, but also having it fresh in your mind is important. So, the saying "facts over feelings" um, can be used in this. Sometimes it's not always true because feelings oftentimes overpower the facts. But in this case, um, your feeling of inadded. Say that for me.
Inadequacy.
Thank you. That was
You
tough for me
got
to
it.
say
That was
this
tough.
morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard
You know
word.
what I was saying.
I
So
do.
that feeling, um, but if you have reasons why you are strong and you can do this speech, or you can perform, or you can close the sale, whatever it is, and you have evidence, then those facts will help build that confidence. So even
Yeah.
though you're feeling unconfident, reviewing all the facts and all the details behind it can help you build it.
And I think this, a really cool thing people can take out of this one, is, and this is something I do, and I think it works really well. Your brain is going to remember every workout you missed right, and it's going to remember every mistake you made. Like that's something your brain
Right.
naturally does. So something, to retrain that, open your phone or have a little notebook where you write down, that you keep that kind of receipts file where you're
Right.
proving, that truth in advance statement, right? Where we're saying, hey, I'm somebody who's fit. So instead of thinking about, I kind of didn't work out yesterday and I
Right.
didn't have a great workout the day before, write down like, hey, there was this one day, last week when the schedule was crazy and I almost didn't work out, but then I pushed myself at the
Right.
end of the day to cram 20 push-ups in and I felt great about myself. So
Right.
you're putting those receipts in a log, where
Yep.
you can actually go look at them. So when you're feeling unmotivated or you're feeling like an imposter, you can go in and say, oh, hey, look, here is when I did this. I am this person and there's proof there for you.
Right. And then the final part of this is really just organizing it all.
Yeah.
And so doing this prior to what you're about to do new, right? So if it's you're going to do a business deal or you're doing, like I said, a speech or doing something that you haven't done necessarily that before, or you're still new at it, before you go in, get yourself psyched up with at least three reasons why you deserve to be there, why you deserve a seat at the table, or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
and that'll help. So, the facts over feelings and having the receipts, but also doing the pre-framing yourself and doing the work ahead of time. So you're not feeling that, and then you search for it, but you do it. You already have it in your mind.
100%. And then getting into action step three. This was my favorite, and I think, yeah, I don't know why. Like sometimes the third step is always my favorite, and it used to not be, but now I like lately it has been.
Hmm.
Action step three is about outrunning the doubt with speed.
Yeah.
And really how like that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome survives and thrives, in the time period between when we have the thought and we do the thing.
Yep.
And that's really why the thing fizzles out, right?
Right.
Because we go, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and then I'm gonna think about it, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm going, oh man, I don't really have good sneakers, and
Right.
I'm not a runner, you know. So, really talking about that first 24 hours, that
Right.
first domino, in the 24 hours. When you feel that imposter syndrome setting in, with a new idea,
Hmm.
within a day, I mean, really, like, I mean, Tony Robbins says, never leave the site without taking the
Right.
action, right?
Immediately.
But
Yeah.
really, within that 24 hours, making sure you take some kind of action, because the action is going to provide data
Right.
yourself, that it works.
And the next part of this is applying the do it badly rule. Now, to people that are into perfection and they want to have things done right, this can be difficult. This can be very difficult. But the whole idea is just like what you said first, take action, do something, and be okay with, okay, it's not 100%. Now, if it's a presentation to a company that you're trying to sell, I wouldn't suggest you do it badly. So take this with a grain of salt and apply it where doing it badly and making that impression just so is okay. Sometimes you need to make a great impression, so you don't want to do things badly right away. But the whole idea is oftentimes it's just an excuse to procrastinate. And that I think we just did a podcast on this a little while ago. Is we use that it's not done right, and that's
Yeah.
just a reason not to get started.
Yep, 100%. And that, we've talked about this before, but Netflix came out with that really cool three-part Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, which I
Hmm.
loved. I really liked it. And
Yeah,
I
it was
think
good.
if you haven't seen it, see it. But then they came out with a Stallone one, which I didn't like. I didn't
Yeah,
think it
I
was as
agree.
good. But the one thing I took out of it was that when he was writing Rocky, he would throw away 9 out of the 10 pages he wrote every
Yeah,
time. And
yep,
he said, I'm writing it, it's garbage. And then, I'd find something good at the end of that garbage.
yep,
So I think there's so much to be said for doing it badly. Like
yeah,
just start making the thing, start doing the thing, and you'll get better.
right.
I agree 100%. If you're walking in to teach a room full of people, maybe do some prep work. Like,
Yeah, right.
you don't want to suck at that.
Yeah,
But even that, like, don't overthink it. Like, go out and do the
right,
presentation, do it
right.
scared, do it ready. But
Yeah, if you're
at
if you're
the
teaching them to fly a plane, then okay, you don't do it badly. But if you're like how many, and of course we're not going to use names, but how many people do you and I know, we're like, "Hmm, they're not really great at what they do, but they still do it and they still make money at it,
yeah,
you know. So again, not if you're teaching a new surgery technique or flying a plane or something that could actually kill people. Please don't do that. And
Don't
I
do it
actually
badly.
agree with like martial arts too. You got to be careful. Like if you're teaching some of the stuff that I see online for self-defense, that can actually be very dangerous if they ever
Yeah.
get in a confrontation. Because yeah, I'm not going to go on, but yeah,
If you're doing that,
it's
maybe do it
crazy.
badly in front of do it badly in front of a mirror a few times,
Yes, yes,
and then
yes.
do it badly in front of like your spouse who's not
Right.
really looking to learn the thing, and then you'll be better by the time you get to the importance of
Yeah, if you
something.
have a bad kata, then no problem, no big
Right.
deal. But if you
Right.
have a bad self-defense technique, that could be a problem.
I'm more thinking about the plane thing. Yeah, yeah.
The plane, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then really, talking about the public accountability of it. Tell your team, tell your coach what you're doing. I mean, I think there's so much to be said for accountability.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things I love about the dojo is you have other people there, and if you're not showing up at
Yep.
class, they're going to be like, "Hey, where have you been?"
Yeah.
And that little act of accountability when you're trying to do something just helps you stay committed. And really, like, it also helps because you'd be amazed how many people, if you say, "Well, I don't know if I can do this," they'll look at you and go, "Of course you can do this. Like we have more faith in you
Right.
than you do." I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this podcast, I probably have more faith in you than you do.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? So tell people, tell me,
Yeah.
tell
Yep.
us, tell
Yep.
somebody, but
Yeah.
get that public accountability.
Yep. Makes a difference. Okay, so let's review. So action step number one is about reframing the fraud signal. So when you're feeling like, oh man, this is I don't know, I'm not sure if I deserve this or whatever, you have to reframe it. So proof of growth. Shift your identity from I'd like to be a leader or to I am a leader, and then also embrace that the boundaries. So realize that you're going to feel this because you're growing.
Yeah, 100%. Action number two, the evidence log. So again, this is about our facts over our feelings, right? The feeling of fear can always be defeated by evidence that you can do it, right? So taking a note, jotting down, some of those wins, having that three fact minimum, where you're logging those reasons why you earned a seat at the table.
Yep. And the last one is outrunning the doubt with speed. And this is talking about what's the first domino? What's the first action step you need to take? And certainly within 24 hours, but like you and I said, do it now.
Yeah.
And that's Anthony Robbins talks about that a lot. Also apply it, do it badly rule when appropriate, of course, if it's not super like important, but apply that so that way you're not making the excuse of I want it perfect before I start, and that's just a reason to procrastinate. And then the last part of that step is public accountability. So telling other people, especially people that really want your best interests, they're looking out for you and they can support you, but also keep you accountable. That's very, very helpful.
100%. Use that self-doubt as fuel to perform to the next level. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please share it with somebody who you think would like it after you take action on it. So take action on
Yes.
it. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Hop over to our website at www.achieveresultsnow.com to get your free copy of our book, Ignite Results, 4 specific daily actions to help you achieve results now. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Achieve Results Now. Thanks for listening, commenting, and subscribing. Now get out there and achieve results now.